Hi, I want to talk about war and peace. I'm Angel, by the way. Thanks for stopping by. Um, Yesterday, I stopped by a good friend of mine's, and or a person that I've known a long time and usually consider a good friend of mine. And there was some news on about the war in the Ukraine, and we had a brief conversation about what could be done about that. And I concluded, as I usually do, that the best thing that I can do is learn how to choose peace in myself especially when confronted with disagreement and conflict, instead of letting that escalate to the point of feeling like it's a life and death situation, being so entangled with the ego, being able to step back and recognize that it takes different perspectives is a beautiful thing. We don't all have the same truth. This is arguable amongst many of my humans. I wrote a book about it, 47 Truths. Working on another book called The 50th Truth. But anyway, so it's a passionate, it's a topic that is of great importance or significance to me, and I've spent a lot of time contemplating truth and the fluidity of truth. That is all just an acknowledgement that I probably far off, from the mainstream perspective on what is true. And that's just an example of how we're all diverse and different. And to me, it's beautiful that we don't all see the world the same way. And as long as we can remember that we're still all part of a greater whole, it can be lovely to share differing opinions, to try to understand each other's perspective, even when it's different, even when we disagree. And so my friend and I had this brief exchange about the news that was on about the war in the Ukraine. And then another topic came into conversation, to which we disagree on, and something I said triggered him, activated a defensive, egocentric, I would say, like sense of defensive-ness, where he felt like my opinion was a threat to his position, and he then felt that justified basically becoming very verbally abusive toward me. From my perspective, I'm pretty sure he would see it differently and describe it differently, which is my point. We're not, often two humans who are both intelligent and both well-meaning in this world are going to see things so differently that we come to like a head of disagreement. And those are the beautiful, critical moments of choice that we all have, to choose to forgive, to choose to step back, to choose to not take things personally, to choose to, to forgive ourselves and each other when we are maybe too rigid in our beliefs and don't allow for beliefs that differ from ours, which obviously we need to be able to do to get along in this world. And when we take things personally and then feel like it's so important that it's worth killing or dying for, this is what leads to war. And it does start with each of us. There is the capacity to stop war in each of us. It's an amazing capacity that I think is really ripe, really wanting to bloom from us, within us. It's wanting to bloom in me. I can tell you that much for sure. So, yeah, I am here practicing that, and I am not perfect, and I will still make mistakes, but I am learning that as I can still love myself even when I make mistakes and forgive myself, that I can also love you and forgive you when you make mistakes. And if we can practice that more and more, instead of practicing disagreement and cancellation and criticism and judgment and punishment and shaming and blaming, but rather take responsibility for this life and take responsibility for peace in each of our own hearts, then I think we're onto something. Then I think there is hope for transcending war and finding peace. Um, Maybe not 100% of the time, but perhaps to the degree that we do not have global conflict like we're having right now. Perhaps we can scale it back, which I think many humans that I talk to would agree that we seem to have kind of, in the cha-cha-cha way, stepped back a little bit from what seemed like some progress in the direction of not having global conflicts that put so many humans and so much life at risk of greater suffering, when we could all be enjoying this amazing existence. I do think that the choice between heaven and hell is ours. I'm choosing heaven, and I hope you'll join me. Let me know what you think of any of that. Check out the description if you want to find ways of connecting with me and supporting me. I thank you if you do. I thank you for being, regardless of how you choose to be. And I'll be seeing you. Stay free.